You. Okay, everyone. Today I'll be speaking about environmental entrepreneurship. Um, so let's go. Okay, so for us in Jamaica, there's a big push right now for social entrepreneurship. We had one of our major banks here in Jamaica called Jamaica National, through their foundation, had this social enterprise boost initiative that started to spearhead the social entrepreneurship movement, promoting the triple bottom line parts of social entrepreneurship, which is people, planet, profit, right? So some of the problems that we've seen in Jamaica that can be solved by social entrepreneurship is things like solid waste, deforestation, general pollution, in a nutshell. And of course, drought through some of the services that they offer, right? Um, one of the other projects that I mentioned before in one of my past presentations, um, that seek to help persons find alternative livelihoods through social entrepreneurship mechanisms would have been the JA Reach project. So one of the examples from them would have been the beekeeping services that they that they started in the one of the watershed areas in Saint no, not Saint Thomas, Saint Mary. So instead of having the person slash and burn, they decided to replant trees in one of those in one of our major watersheds, and gave the persons bees in order to switch them from charcoal burning and cutting down the trees. So that was a worthwhile initiative. And of course, it follows the mantra people, planet, profit. So what that means is that their business is now looking at regenerating the ecosystem, earning an income for the persons in those particular threatened ecosystems, which covers which covers the people and the profit side of things, right? So one of the other so through this particular through this presentation, I'll be looking at some social enterprises that are actually registered. Well, probably not as a social enterprise. They're probably registered as either for a for-profit company or as a business name registration or as a non-profit doing social enterprise work, because Jamaica has not established a social enterprise registration system just yet, but through the JN Foundation SEBI project, they were working on doing so, but we aren't certain what the outcome will be just yet. So one of the business that I'm looking at is called the Plant Jamaica. Basically, what they're doing is trying to establish um, basically what they call edible landscapes in urban spaces. So it could be in the backyard of helping a primary school or a high school establish like a green space, like a green food garden, and then teaching the students how to plant their own sustainable agricultural produce. Or it could be with a community group that has a space that they want to turn into an urban garden. And they basically go in, help them start the urban garden, start the produce, and then yeah. And of course, they also do agroforestry in urban landscapes as well, as you can see with some of the trees in the background. Another very innovative way of treating with pollution is 360 Recycles, where I actually was able to tour this facility. Basically, what they do is that they take plastic waste, they repurpose and they upcycle some of the plastic waste and even paper, right? So on the bench that you're seeing with the bottles on top of it, those benches are actually made from shredded plastic mixed with concrete and paper, and it's just as durable as if you made it out of solid concrete, and but it's like about 25 to 30% lighter. than the actual concrete, but it's just as durable. As you can see, there's an elephant sculpture that they actually made using recycled mesh wire to build out the frame of the elephant, and then make sure that the volume stays by stacking old used plastic bottles, and then pave it over with a combination of cement and shredded paper. And then those are used as artworks for buildings. As you can see in front of the finished elephant sculpture, you have waste bin baskets that are very durable, and they also use those for place it at specific points to recycle. Now that's the planet side of it, and that's like the economic side of it as well, because they sell these things. But the people part of it is they do youth training. So basically, I know the CEO wants to be able to create other nodules and networks across the island to offer these services. But this particular location is now in Kingston. Bartley's All in Wood is another social enterprise. I met this young lady. Her family basically runs a furniture shop in one of the rural areas, and they had all this waste wood, and they didn't know what to do with it. So she basically she takes the waste wood and make a fashionable wearable wood clothing. So as you can see in the picture with the two young men, they actually have wood cutout bow ties, and that she's able to polish down and varnish, and so to make the clothes more trendy. And of course, she's able to make different hair upholsteries out of the same wood material. So she's basically making sure that she can recover as much of the waste wood as possible and make them more functional, so that she doesn't and then once she earns from that, she uses some of the profits to actually train other woodworkers and carpenters in the field to help her propel her business forward. And then, of course, there's my thing, which is not necessarily fully started up yet. But what I was doing is able to do urban beekeeping, where I'm occupying a space that was previously used for dumping. So yeah, and eventually I'd like to build out in the same training program, like what you've seen in the other examples that I've given. So the whole idea is to bring back pollination services and ecosystem services to an urban landscape, especially those communities that are suffering from high waste pollution, right? And to be able to do the same kind of youth training in the same thing. The next example of environmental entrepreneurship, and if I'm going fast, just ask me to slow down if possible, if you need to. The next example is Bunkers Hill Cultural Experience, Rivers and Tours, right? So what they have done is they want to preserve the natural environment within their community. So, and they have a river nearby. So what they've done is to offer a cultural community-based kind of tour experience to tourists, whether it's local Jamaican tourists or overseas tourists, where you can visit the area, do a riverside tour, and you get local Jamaican cuisine, and those funds actually are used to preserve the natural ecosystem in the area, and also be able to allow persons to earn on the tours from the local community by showcasing the natural beauty and the mannerism of the people in the local area, right? So their social enterprise is really truly dependent on the preservation of the ecosystem in the environment. And last but not least, I believe this is my last slide, is the Montego Bay Marine Park. They're still toying, they're still trying to flesh out their old social enterprise module, because most of their mainstay is really marine ecosystem preservation, education, and conservation. But what they do is they offer tours in the marine park in order to generate funds, because they're really a registered charity, right? So what they've done is to pump 100% of their tour income back into into the charity itself, so that they can do things like the beach cleanup, because they get a lot of inundation the from the local gullies, because persons dump in those gullies, so they have to do a lot of cleanups and also regeneration of the corals nearby. Thanks very much. And I'll hand over to Cherno in order for him to be able to talk about what he wants to do. Cherno? Cherno? Sorry, your mic isn't on. Cherno, your mic. Turn on your mic.
Are you hearing me? Hello?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Now we hear you.
Okay, so how do I share again my slide?
There is a share screen button at the bottom.
Okay.
And then you just, yeah.
It's like a green box there. Okay, you found it. Good.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Okay, bien. Okay, hello everyone. How are you all doing? So my presentation is kind of, I don't know how to call it. Thanks so much, Adrian. Your presentation was very cool. I'm talking about also environmental entrepreneurship, a possible solution. So I'll be looking at, God, okay. Okay, that's my presentation outline, introduction, discussion, conclusion, comments, questions, comments, and contributions. So I couldn't have more time to dig more into the Gambia here, but I talk about ecopreneurship and environmental entrepreneurship. As we know, ecopreneurship, it's it refers to the environmental entrepreneurship or people that are poised towards coming up with sustainable ideas, according to LACAP. So ecopreneurs or people that are also very poised towards helping the environment. Indeed, the ecopreneurs identify environmental challenges and therefore develop products and services which will aid in both solving the business and environmental challenges by providing sustainable solutions. So the main competitive advantage for ecopreneurs business is the fact that they are able to utilize the sustainable options in energy, waste management, and other spectra of the ecosystem. So for instance, here in my discussion, we know most businesses are indeed only interested in profits nowadays and growth without due concern on positive environmental impacts. For instance, here in Gambia, we have a golden lead company that is a fish processing company. Maybe later I would find photos. It's a fish processing company. So they do dump some of their waste in the coastline or in the river of the Gambia. And we know these things also are not good for sea and marine life. So this is a problem that gives rise to a set of sustainable business solutions provided by the ecopreneurs. So according to Shalga and Wagner, the environment is full of eco opportunities which will provide a just-in-time solution to the problems that the environment encounters on a day-to-day basis. For instance, when we take an example of the famous McDonald's, a large hamburger restaurant found in most parts of the world. Such company could utilize locally supplied chicken and other foodstuffs that it requires in its process. So when it does this, it would also empower the companies that are in the home country or the home-based companies. So moreover, this will lead to the growth of small and medium enterprises in the countries of operation. So therefore, ecopreneurship will be able to support sustainable environmentally sound solutions on effectively reducing the carbon emission menace. So people would not need to travel by flight and other stuff. just to order a whole lot of number of chickens and other food stuff, for instance, in this example. Also, am I going very fast?
I think one person can't hear, but I think he might have a problem with the app that he's using.
Yeah. Hello?
Don't worry, I'm hearing you.
Okay, then, sorry. So moreover, this will lead to the growth of some small and medium enterprises in the countries of operation. Therefore, entrepreneurship will be able to support sustainable environmentally sound solutions and effectively reducing the carbon emissions measures. So also another one, alternatively using solar or wind energy. Solar or wind energy also helps reduce the carbon emission. Most ecopreneurs most ecopreneurship make use of these energy sources for the benefits of the environment. As we know, solar energy also is more advantageous and it's also friendly. God. Okay. On the other hand, ecopreneurship is able to reduce the amount of hazardous chemicals usage. Many ecopreneurship usually make use of chemicals that are harmful to the environment, and most of these things too, like they are very bad for agriculture. So, like some of these chemicals that are produced by some of these big time like industries or waste. Some of their waste are quite. So chemical use within companies usually finds its way to the environment.
Cherno?
Is me or Cherno is not talking?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happening. Cherno? Hello? Let me try and get him off screen for a minute. Give me a second.
Hello?
We hear you, we hear you.
Okay, all right.
We hear you.
Yeah, so sorry for all this. I think my earpiece or something has an issue. So some of these chemicals that may be produced by some of those companies also would do damage to crops and living organisms. So ecopreneurship or environmental entrepreneurship therefore reduce the amount of hazardous chemical usage. So chemicals that are used with the ecopreneurs business ventures should be tested and properly handled so as to reduce the chances of releasing them into the environment. A good example of this efficient energy use by the ecopreneurship is the use of solar and wind powers. I think I talked about that. These are sustainable renewable energy resources which are likely to lead to reduced carbon emissions. These sources of energy are usually considered to be clean. The advantage of that is also that ecopreneurship will incur fewer costs in energy use since they will have depended on the sustainable and renewable energy sources. Saving is a major advantage and benefit that ecopreneurship derives from their sustainable environment solution and should therefore uphold these values. And also, previously, people talk about how ecopreneurship or environmentalism was like people talk about what not to do, like not to cut trees, not to pollute the environment. But now, instead, the best way to do it is like present things that you know will compel the customers or people that they will not feel that they are really doing a lot of sacrifice. For instance, I see some youth from Bali, Indonesia doing this by plastic bag, which I also have the intention to bring to Gambia. Because also, for instance, in Gambia, we've banned the use of plastic bags, yet there are some people that are using plastics. And these reusable bags would also, they would reduce the amount of money that people would use in order to be buying a lot of plastics. And people usually use plastics just once or twice, and then they throw it. Plastics do not decay. Yet these reusable bags are quite good for the environment. They could decay if they are thrown, and then they are environmentally friendly. So I think my presentation was not the best. Ecopreneurs are therefore also bent towards ensuring a clean environment for the benefit of the community within. So the environmental entrepreneurs also have to reduce carbon emission through the use of renewable sources that emanate from solar and wind power. So these energy sources therefore help to reduce the cost of production as well, hence leading to more profitability for the ecoprenerships. I think this is the last slide of my presentation. Any comments, questions, and contributions?
Yeah.
Thank you, Cherno and Adrian, for your presentations.
You're welcome. I'm so sorry for this was not
You're
like the best
welcome.
presentation. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Really.
These things do happen.
Oh God.
So before we I open the floor for questions, can we all sing happy birthday to Adrian, please?
Happy birthday to Adrian. Adrian, how old are you?
Too old. I'm
It's
30 today.
18th birthday, no?
Yeah, I'm 30.
Oh, okay. All the best. May your dreams be achieved.
Yeah.
Sarah?
I mean, I was pretty serious about singing, but I'm not going to sing alone.
So Sarah, sing then. Okay, Sarah, you
No,
start.
sir.
They're not singers, I guess.
All right. Everyone unmute yourselves.
You're a
Or I'm
dancer,
unmuting
Sarah. No singing.
you. That's correct. Yeah. All right. Jinky and... okay.
You're a dancer, Sarah. No singer. Stop.
But you can sing, so... I'm unmuting everyone so that they sing. All right. Ready?
Yes.
Yeah, we are ready.
Right. 1, 2, 3. Happy
Happy birthday
to you, Adrian.
You.
Everyone stop singing. Happy birthday,
Happy
dear
birthday.
To Adrian.
Happy birthday to
Happy
you.
birthday to you.
Feliz cumpleaños, Adrian.
Thank you very much.
Sarah, could you do it in Spanish?
¿Español? ¿Quién habla
Sí.
español?
Sí, Sara. Hágalo en español, por favor.
Oh, gracias.
Viste, no somos los únicos que hablan español.
So I tried to sing in Spanish the other day,
Yes.
and I found out that it's not the translated version of Happy Birthday that I thought it was.
Oh, wow.
Feliz cumpleaños, Adrian.
Ah, no, porque
Thank you.
en español la canción es diferente en cada país, pues Sara, ¿no sabía?
So
Que no te escucho mucho. ¿Qué dices, Álvaro?
Ah, sorry. No, que le digo a Sara que la canción de Feliz Cumpleaños no es igual en cada país que habla español. Entonces la canción que ella conoce, que es la de Chile, no sirve.
¿Qué dices en Chile? ¿Qué dices en Chile? ¿Qué dicen en Chile?
Cumpleaños feliz. La canción dice, cumpleaños feliz,
Feliz,
te
feliz.
deseamos a ti.
A ti,
Eso.
a ti.
No, Sara, eso es de flight.
All right. So,
Ok,
now,
comencemos con las preguntas.
so happy
¿no?
birthday. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the presentation?
Oh, I think I have one comment. I know that in Colombia they use these gardens with fruit trees. That is very a good project in some cities. They have in I think two or one major cities and in a lot of small cities. They put these trees in the streets, and all people could take the fruits from there, and it's a really good help for poor people because you could like take your breakfast with mangoes and with other fruits. Then I don't remember the names in English, but it's a really good idea. I think in these ideas, I think I saw the most of them here in Chile, but I think one of the most greatest is than when you put fruit trees in the trees, because when you have other trees, the government or the state is paying for the maintenance and stuff, and they don't do nothing for the people. But if you have fruit plants, it's better because the poor people, in the most of cases, could use that fruit, and I think that is important. And the other thing is that here in Chile we have a guy that is um, is using um, glass bottles for doing cups. That is a very good idea too, and it's kind of a big enterprise now. I think that is other idea of that kind of ideas that is really good. And that is all.
Yeah, Chile is one of only a few countries that has banned plastic bags in the whole country. So they started with a ban just on the coast in coastal cities, and now it's the entire country, which is really cool. So that, I mean, that kind of plays into ecopreneurship with making businesses kind of take more accountability for the products they produce and how much waste it causes and the damages that cause on the ecosystem. Chile has a really long coastline, so that was kind of the impetus with wanting to keep plastic bags out of the oceans. So
for us, it was
Yeah, we have we have a ban of one-use plastic bags, and is returning the um, beverage returning bottles like you could use and reuse in Coca-Cola and other big enterprises. You have reusable bottles too. So that is important here, like the reusable bottles. And in another way, we have ban of plastic bags. And now we have a law that force the enterprises for veneers like tires and other things to the producers of tires they are forced to take off of the market the 50% of the old tires to reuse the materials.
Yeah, for us, it's more than just treating with plastics. Most of our NGOs are trying to go social entrepreneurship, and so it's more about the survival of our NGOs, because they really truly before didn't have any mechanism other than grant applications to survive. So most of our NGOs are going that route. Look, it's luckily for us that most of our NGOs have, well, at least the ones that I've dealt with, have a environmental mission. So in Jamaica, it was more of one, survivability of the NGOs that that do some of the environmental preservation work, and the other part was basically how can they use the materials that they have generated to kind of earn and maximize profits in order to continue doing the work that they do. So, for example, the organization 360 Recycle that I mentioned, the owner for that particular business really needed, like, for example, he really needed an income, and he was really passionate about plastic waste, and so that developed into 360 Recycle. For other persons, it's less of the response to a particular problem and more the front end of before the problem is actually here. So, like, feedback. So for example, when I spoke about the beekeeping element from one of the first slides, those particular persons really wanted to regenerate the forest. But even though the forest wasn't completely gone, so they were less response and more proactive approach. So even though they had the problems before, like deforestation through charcoal burning, they wanted to halt the deforestation and also preserve what was left.
Okay, I understand your approach. It's very interesting because it's have a preventive side that is important. A preventive side that is important.
I'd like for Michelle to talk a little bit about some social entrepreneurship or sustainable management principles. The two of us studied sustainable management together at University of Wisconsin, and she just graduated.
Okay.
But
Yeah, no problem. I think the most relatable thing with that is, at least from my understanding, is it's kind of like any sort of internship that you might find here for like sustainability. Before I went to Wisconsin, I went to a community college near me, and they have like a sustainable manager there that handles the entire campus. And they would do internships, so you could be like a sustainable internship under him, and he would kind of like let you do a bunch of research or kind of like shadow him through everything that he was doing. So I guess I kind of interpreted it as some sort of like internships. As far as what we learned about and recently, I mean, that could be relatable, I feel like, to pretty much everything. Like specifically like any sort of projects for like ocean cleanup or something like that. I know there's a bunch of different organizations that you can internship with them, and they can teach you a bunch of stuff about that. Or like even with there's a company here called TerraCycle. I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but it's a company that recycles basically anything and everything, and they partner with a bunch of different companies like Colgate and trying to think what else. Just basically any of your everyday products they partner with, and they'll recycle whatever materials. So like you would send in a box of toothbrushes or cut up credit cards or whatever, and they'll recycle it for you. And they do internships, and they have a bunch of different types. They have like zero waste internships, they have supply chain management, and a bunch of other stuff too. So I guess that's that's kind of how I relate it. I don't know if there's something else that you wanted to me to specifically touch on.
I was thinking we could talk about the sustainability report that you've done that you did for the gym, and then for that guide that you're working on.
Oh, okay. So I did a case study for a gym chain franchise, and I looked at their employee turnover. I looked at just like their general environmental impact, their energy sources. I did community involvement or like outreach, and I kind of just like talked to a bunch of different employees at the company, and got a feel for what their sustainability assessment was on that. And I found that they weren't really sustainable, which I wasn't too surprised about because they're not really not a very professional gym chain. But I'm also doing my own sustainability like go-to guide. I figured I would make kind of like a guide that kind of like a reference for everything that me and Sarah learned about in our schooling. Like it talks about like, you know, the different steps to assess for a company, the different types of indexes and ways to measure sustainability, and then I broke it down by like the different sections, so like environmental, social, and policy. And I guess the point of it is just to help people that might be like you and me that are trying to do a sustainability consultant for a company that doesn't really know what they're doing and needs something to kind of go off of. So I don't know if there's someone else that wants to say something.
So, I mean, of what you two talked about today, Cherno and Adrian, there's kind of two sides to it. There's the social entrepreneurship side where it's the main mission is environment, but then you turn to profit so that the company can continue to exist, or the entity can continue to exist, and not just be based on grant funding. So that's making it more fiscally sustainable. And then the other side is making a currently existing business more environmentally sustainable. And so making sure that they're going both ways, as well as including, you know, the people side of it, the social impact aspect to the company. Does anyone else have examples of social entrepreneurships that they want to share? Or companies that have taken like a pledge for sustainability?
I remember one example here. That is a copper mining company. That is a really big one. And they, for at least, I don't know, 50 years, they used gas and oil for this big funding process. Okay, and they are in the Atacama Desert, and now they change the funding process to use electricity. Then it's normal in other countries. Then they are starting to change. The mining companies are starting to change gas and oil for electricity. But this company, at the same time that they changed to electricity, they put their own solar power plant. So they are using solar electricity for the mining refining process of the copper. So I think that is a really big change and was for a old company that was in the process they has a really big amount of contamination, pollution for oil and gas, and now they are just using electricity, and the source of their electricity is solar power plant. So they made a big change. I think the companies need to be that big, like really big ones.
That's awesome.
Just want to give another input here. You also have to be careful with the difference between a social enterprise, a social entrepreneur, versus a CSR, because not because, for example, let's say for example, Shell gives you money to do environmental work. That could be CSR, right? Because Shell's main mandate is not necessarily environmental work. Their sole purpose is to make a profit for their shareholders. So they would not be considered a social enterprise even if they are trying to mix environmental work into their everyday process and operation. So one has to be very careful with mixing up CSR with social entrepreneurship.
So, hello.
Yeah? Who just spoke?
Can you hear me?
Pradeep? Yes. Hey.
Okay, okay. So I just want to share on like social entrepreneurships that is very popular and somehow success in Nepal. So one of the group here started on campaign to reduce the plastic pollution, and so they start on campaign. I can carry my own bag. So for this, they create a group called Hamri Boini, so which means our sisters. So what they did is like they collaborate and they create a group of women so who are excluded in the community and who are single. So they started to make a cloth bag and they sell. So they used to sell in the supermarkets and in complexes. So that helps to for which helps to reduce the use of plastic bag in Nepal, and also create the possibility the economical support to those women so who are socially excluded and who are single. And that is a campaign that you can search on the web page like Hamri Boini. So this is one of the very, like, personally I like appreciate that campaign, because with that campaigns they have like create the good social change and good social example.
Pradeep?
Yeah.
Oh, was that the end of it? I didn't know if you stopped talking or if you cut out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Already.
Yeah, there's there are some similar-ish organizations in the U.S. Around me, there are either places where you can donate used clothing or used furniture, and they have volunteers come in and work at the their resale shop, and then all the proceeds go to, you know, battered women or, you know, families with children that can't afford food, or unemployed people, things like that. Trying to help just people who don't have the resources with themselves, and they do it through selling used products. And then there's one other. Oh, and then there's another resale shop that does it for women who have been in abusive relationships and or like were sold as sex slaves, and then they give them training so that they can help get a new job that is less exploitative, and kind of get them reestablished in the community. And then what else they do? Oh, they give like martial arts training or self-defense training to them too. I really like that one. And it's all funded by resale.
I was able to share one of the SEBI project that I was talking about. I was able to share the link in the message screen, so you can take a look at what I'm talking about. In terms of the JN Foundation. Hello?
Sorry, yeah, I was looking at that link you sent.
Oh, okay. Oh.
And then reading Jinky's piece that she wrote. Jinky, that you're totally right. In where I live, we have wind farms that are located on like actual farms, so that they don't take up as much space with the or they don't take up as much of the agricultural land. So it's just a small concrete block on the ground that's holding up the wind turbine, and then all around it, it's, you know, corn or soy fields. I mean, they're not exactly sustainable farms by any means, but at least they have wind farms going for them. Eventually, we'll change the agricultural system in the U.S., hopefully, so that we don't just subsidize GMO corn, soy, and wheat. But for now, that's what we have. But with wind farms, it's great. I think in the case that Alvaro mentioned, that area isn't, you can't really farm there because it's too arid. It's the desert, and so having it as having solar panels there, it's more value added than just nothing in the desert, because it's pretty barren there. Sometimes it flowers, but I don't know many sustainable agricultural areas. Just a couple vineyards and things like that. All right. Did anyone else have anything to add? Because we're running up to about an hour, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Let Adrian go celebrate his birthday. Let him get back.
That's so great, Adrian. And everyone, I'm also doing my internship currently. I'm about to complete my undergrad studies at the University of the Gambia for nursing program. I'm about to complete soon.
So yeah, we gotta let Cherno get back to work.
Sorry?
We gotta let you get back to work.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. So one last thing before we go, I just want to remind everyone of the next 2 webinars, which are our last 2, which is really sad because I really like these. So our next one will be on June 20th. It's going to be at, I believe, 10 o'clock GMT. It'll be, the topic is the Internet of Solutions, using visual communication and technology to address climate change. And that'll be given by Kathleen and Sandy. That one I'm really excited for. Kathleen, she's the one who sent the video in the OIE chat for World Environmental Day. She's a photographer and videographer for 350.org, and then also does some freelance work. And then Sandy is working on a degree as a communications engineer, and so she's doing research on how to bring 5G internet to 5G, 6G, something like that, to Egypt, which I didn't even know existed until she told me about it. So that's pretty cool. And then on Saturday, June 30th, is going to be our final call. That's going to be on waste and its effect on the environment and climate change in Nigeria. That'll be given by Bimbo at 1 p.m. GMT. Both those will be at the same exact call-in. The meeting ID is going to be the same, the web address, whichever one you use. All right.
Yeah.
I think most of the people on this call have, from what it looks like, you've all presented, I think, and most of you have finished viewing all the webinars that you need to get the certificate. But obviously, the certificate's not the ultimate goal. The goal is to accumulate knowledge and just for a discussion on these issues. So keep coming. I hope to see you next week. All right.
I have a question, Sarah, for you. If anyone wants to join you next year, so what's the criteria?
If you want to join me next year for Online Youth Exchange, I'll be sending out the application to everyone who is in the program this year. You're totally welcome to do it 2 years in a row. Alvaro's on his 2nd year. Pradeep in his 2nd year joined the leadership team, which is also an option. So it's really up to you what level of participation you'd like to have. If you're interested in joining the leadership team, contact me. I mentioned that in the email that I sent with the dates and recordings for this month. So definitely look over what I've written there, and if you're interested in joining the OI management team, being a mentor next year and helping run the meetings, we'd definitely be interested in your help.
Thank you so much.
And then if anyone has any other, anxiety about OIE being over and not having these fun webinars to go to and look forward to each week, let me know. And there are also ways to get involved with Care About Climate Now and volunteer from your own home. Okay? A huge thank you to Cherno and Adrian for presenting. Adrian, thanks for presenting on your birthday, and Cherno, thanks for taking some time away from work to present.
You're welcome.
All right.
You're really welcome. Thanks so much for listening to us. I hope it made sense.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Everyone have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Always fasting. See you soon. Anshara, talk to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Cheers.
Bye. Good day, everyone.